Well, it looks like I've talked about everything that's relatively new and original on the Shudder channel, but today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite things that are streaming right now on the Shudder channel. So when I was seeing a lot of promotional clips for the Shudder channel, they kept using a lot of clips from a specific trailer, and it looked like Shudder was the only place that was streaming this movie, so I was like, I gotta see what this movie is. And simply titled, that movie is called Revenge. Now this movie is in the exact same vein as something like I Spit on Your Grave or Gator Bait. It's a pretty small cast, but man, even though this is a film about revenge, this film has a lot of good things going for it. You have some really great locations, the cinematography in this movie is really good. The movie has some really good nail-biting suspense, and not to mention one of my favorite chase scenes in a movie. If you haven't seen this movie before and it sounds like your type of thing, I say go check it out. Next on my list is The Last Matinee. This is a slasher film at its finest and at its simplest. It's a very simple story, very easy to follow, and it's about a serial killer at the movies. If you're really into giallo films, this one really does it right. There's really not a whole lot of backstory in this movie, but you really don't need it, and the movie flows along just fine. If you're into slasher films with a lot of gore and a lot of great cinematography and awesome coloring, then definitely check out The Last Matinee. Something that I say very often is when it comes to supernatural films, foreign movies know how to do it and do it better. Next up on my list is 32 Malasana Street. This is a haunting film that takes place in an apartment building. There's a lot of good eerie moments and a lot of good dark hallway scenes. The characters are well done and we got some really good camera work in this film. If you love a good haunting movie, then you're also going to love this one too. Like I said, if you want a good haunting or supernatural movie, you gotta go to foreign movies for these. The next film here is called Terrified. At times this movie can be very subtle, then all of a sudden it'll crank up the eeriness to 100. This movie has some of the best spooky scenes that I've seen in a long time. And you remember the movie Smile that was a big hit last year? I wasn't a big fan of it, but the movie Smile ripped off a scene from this movie. So I would definitely go check out the movie Terrified. One of my other favorite things on here, Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy. If you love movies and love to know the backstory of how a lot of these films got made, I love the chemistry alone just between Joe Bob and Darcy. I think they work really well together. I love the way that Darcy's always trying to cut him off when he's going on too long. I love the moments when she's eye-rolling him, and I also love her costume changes because she does a really good job at cosplay. And it honestly just brings me back to my childhood when I was 12 years old watching Monster Vision on TNT. Last and definitely not least, a movie that I feel like does not get enough credit is Summer of '84. If you love movies like The Goonies, Monster Squad, or if you're even a big fan of Stranger Things, you will definitely like this movie. The film is about a close group of friends hanging out over the summer, and what makes this summer really different is a lot of kids are actually disappearing from the neighborhood. What's really good about this movie, even though it takes place in the 80s, it is not nostalgia baiting you. It is not constantly throwing member berries at you, and I think that's really awesome that they were able to do that. Even though I just said the movie doesn't nostalgia bait you with the 80s stuff, it manages to capture the spirit of the 80s. Unlike Stranger Things, this movie is set in reality and has a very dark turn. I highly recommend checking out the movie Summer of '84 on the Shudder channel. Well, these were some of my favorite things on the Shudder channel. Thank you for stopping by. I'm Mike the Movie Misfit, and this was Shudder Saturday. Pretty please, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.